Good afternoon, everyone. I'm James Crumwell. The current state budget was just completed a few months ago, but it's already time to talk about the next budget. Governor Josh Shapiro will do that tomorrow at this time as he delivers his budget address. And there are already concerns. Dennis Owens is live at the state capitol with more on this story. Good afternoon, Dennis.
Good afternoon to you. Happy Groundhog Day, and perhaps I should be called Harrisburg Dennis because I keep popping up at this time every year, trying to give a projection or a prognostication as to how long this budget is going to take to get done. The budget address is tomorrow. Here's a look at last year's budget address. So this will be Governor Shapiro's fourth budget address, but what you're seeing is last February. That budget was not finalized until November. Remember, it is due on June 30th. It spent $50 billion. The current year's budget didn't touch the rainy day fund, which is about $7.5 billion right now. But in its recent report, the Independent Fiscal Office suggests that at current spending and revenue levels, it projects dipping into the rainy day fund for about $5 billion of that $7.5 billion rainy day fund. So there are real fiscal warning signs this year.
This has been building up a long time. So before COVID, we had a structural deficit of about $1 billion. Roughly every year, it's increased by about $1 billion. Healthcare is a big driver of that, and a lot of those costs are mandatory.
Now, there are good economic signs, Matthew Nittle says. For instance, sales and income taxes are ahead of their projections, meaning the state's taking in more money than they anticipated. Remember, a budget address, which again is happening at this time tomorrow, is just a governor's wish list, what he would like to see happen. That, of course, has to be fought over, mostly with Senate Republicans, because the House is controlled by Democrats. And James, I anticipate, and it doesn't take a great prognosticator to anticipate this, there will be a battle over that rainy day fund. I'm sure Republicans will not want to touch $5 billion of the $7.5 billion rainy fund, considering they didn't want to touch any of it. That was a big line in the sand this year, and that was where the big fight was. So we'll see. Remember, if you don't have enough money, there's two things you can do. And you run a structural deficit, there's two things you can do. You can either generate more revenue. Will they do that with recreational marijuana and skill games? Now I'm told is the year that skill games should be taxed and regulated. I should note, I've been told that for the last several years. Or you cut spending. And what Matthew Nittle just said there a moment ago is that 80% of the budget is mandatory spending. So there's not a lot of wiggle room there. So interesting fights, James. The other big thing to keep an eye on, this is an election year. Lawmakers don't want to do what they did last year, and that is still not have a budget done when voters go to vote in early November. So a lot of things in play. Bottom line, budgets, the governor's budget address is tomorrow. My brain's starting to freeze out here, James, so let's send it back to you.
Dennis, you read my mind. I was just going to ask you about it being an election year and how that will play into things. Harrisburg, Dennis, do you see your shadow out there?
Well, I'm chattering. I see it's beautiful sun and beautiful white. That I do see. It will not go to November this year because it's an election year. That budget will be done before November, preferably for all sides involved. June and July should be the time frame.
All right, and we'll be tuned in tomorrow to actually watch the governor's budget address. Dennis Owens, live at the state capitol. Thank you so much for that report this afternoon.
Hi, I'm Eric Finkenbinder from ABC 27, and we're excited to announce the new ABC 27 News Plus app. Live stream newscasts or watch content on demand. This is different than the ABC 27 app on your smartphone. You can check this out at home, and it's very easy to use. With a Fire Stick, go to the homepage, scroll down to search. From there, enter ABC 27. Move over to the apps, and there we are. Click the icon and install. It's just that easy.